All right, so whenever you're ready to start, you may.
How many of you guys would say you're optimistic? Now, when you go to a restaurant and you ask for the waiter for a drink, and he comes up and fills your glass halfway, what's the first thing you're going to say?
More please.
But what if that's the only bit you can get? Are you going to be happy with what you get, or are you going to be unsatisfied?
Yeah,
Yeah, I got it.
well,
Everybody in life sees it that way sometimes. They're just not satisfied with what they have. They want more. So our motto is don't be an ass, fill your glass.
So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about jealousy.
I'm going to talk to you about self-esteem. Not self-esteem. I'm sorry. I'm talking to you about selfishness
I'm going to talk to you about being happy and self-esteem.
Yep.
I'm going to be talking about persecution.
I'll be talking about assuming the worst.
So jealousy. This is the master teddy bear killing all the gummy bears because he was the first bear. And he's jealous that they get more attention than he does. So this is a quote from William Penn. The jealous are troublesome to others, but they are a torment to themselves. So letting that soak in, basically you're not only hurting your friends when you go and complain to them, you're not hurting other people, you're also tormenting yourself, making yourself less happy. So jealousy can be defined in two ways. Jealous is the feeling or showing envy of someone in their achievements or their advantages, or the feeling or showing suspicion of someone's unfaithfulness in a relationship. I actually have a story about unfaithfulness in a relationship. Jeff's girlfriend. When we were working on our speech, every time he would leave to work with all of us as a group, she would get upset because she thought that he was going on dates with me. So Jeff, are you single today? Okay. So there's reasons behind jealousy, and just a few situations that might trigger the jealousy could be when someone flirts with your significant other, or even in the case of Jeff's girlfriend, feel like someone's flirting with them. When someone achieves something that you have always wanted to achieve but you didn't manage to, or when someone you hate succeeds or manages to get something you think that they don't deserve. Now, what causes this feeling is, ironically, not the outside forces. It's not the person you hate or the girl flirting with your man. Psychologically, it's the feeling simply generated from you, from within. So in essence, you're only harming yourself. The four main causes would be the lack of self-confidence, poor self-image, insecurity, and even fear. So how do we deal with these inner battles? I actually have 7 tips for you to get over jealousy. Tip 1 would be to build up your self-confidence. If you build up your self-confidence and you know your strengths and your worth, you can eliminate this feeling of jealousy and insecurity. Tip number 2 is to fix your mental and physical self-image, because contrary to popular belief, it is possible to fix your mental view of yourself. Your physical self-image plays an important role too, so make sure you fix your mental and your physical image to fit yourself and feel more confident about yourself. Tip number 3 would be to deal with your feelings of insecurity, because if you experience jealousy in relationships, building self-confidence and your self-image is bound to remove these feelings. Tip number 4 is to conquer your fears. Deal with your fears. Use them to help you with your jealousy, to get over it. Whether it's the fear of abandonment or the fear of rejection, you can deal with your fears. One basic step that helps you to deal with this feeling. Tip number 5 is to do your external changes, because even though jealousy comes from within, you can fix your external along with fixing your inner self. If you're jealous of someone who managed to achieve something that you didn't, for example, you can look at your own mistakes, see what they did to accomplish it, and use that to help you achieve it next time instead of just feeling jealous or feeling lower about yourself. Use what they did to succeed and look at what you did wrong. Tip number 6 is assertiveness, because it will help you. To be assertive is the habit of communicating your feelings without being aggressive or allowing yourself to be walked all over. If you can find the balance between aggression and passiveness, and assert yourself to get what you want, you can feel more powerful about yourself and less jealous of someone that can exercise that feeling. And tip number 7 is to control your anger, because one direct result of jealousy is anger. Anger won't only make you feel bad and frustrated, but it can also destroy your relationships with others. I actually have my own personal story about that. I have an ex-boyfriend that we were friends before we started dating. We have all the same friends, so we decided to remain friends after the fact. on the couch when I went to go visit him and watch movies. And it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he was trying to sneak out to go to another girl's house. And he bumped the couch on his way out, woke me up. My reaction is, where are you going? And he's like, oh, I'm going to go to Kelly's house. Oh, really? You're going to go to Kelly's house? That's what we do now. We go to other girls' houses. So I started getting angry, and even after he left, our friends are still there listening to me complain. So the next day, I ended up feeling guilty, having to apologize, feeling like, oh my gosh, I got jealous over nothing. And it's detrimental. There's other ways you can handle the situation. Accepting the fact that he's not your man anymore, and he can do whatever he wants. So basically, like I said in the beginning, the jealous is not only troublesome to themselves and others. They're not only troublesome to others, but they're tormenting themselves. Because at the end of the day, he's at that girl's house having fun. I'm tormenting my friend. I'm tormenting myself. So in conclusion, if you fix your mind, you can fix your life. Now, Carol is going to talk to you guys about selfishness.
That's right. All right, let's see. Do I have this? Yes. Lack of accountability and selfishness. In my mind, they go together. Whatever joy there is in the world arises from wishing others happiness. Whatever suffering there is in the world arises from wishing for our own happiness. And this is a quote from a Buddhist monk from the 8th century. His name was Shantideva. It's about the only thing I found that I liked about him, but he was not very kind to his women. So, selfishness. Look what you've done to me. Lack of accountability. It's not my fault. Lack of accountability and selfishness are closely associated, in my opinion. The signs of selfishness include a genuine lack of concern for others, acting stubborn, acting self-righteous. And these are traits that we usually ascribe to very young children. Think of the terrible twos. It's all about them. But you know what? Babies and small children have to be selfish because otherwise we would never know what they needed. So it's age-appropriate behavior. But as they get older, when they start throwing temper tantrums, we have to redirect their energies and let them know you're not the only thing in this world. Eventually, if we're lucky, we learn it's not all about you. No baby has ever come into this world requesting a Gucci outfit. This is what the parents do. Parents sometimes do their children a disservice. They continue to excuse this behavior. They try smoothing over the rough spots with gifts, toys, vacations. Rather than giving of themselves, their time, their attention, and their love, they bury these kids under material things. And it means when you're selfish, people usually don't like you. It means you only care about yourself. And when you're selfish, everything's a battle. And when you don't get what you want, it becomes a hurtful loss. It internalizes it. You just really feel bad about yourself. True happiness requires you to think of others. The energy we give off has an effect on those around us, for better or for worse. Think of the people who go to work, they're sick, they got fevers, they don't care who they're infecting. Think of the people that pull into the public parking lot and run into the handicap lane and say, oh, won't give you a minute. Rather than walk a few hundred feet down the parking lot, they only think of themselves. They only think of me. These are everyday examples of people who pursue their own interests without regard to others. And while society has become wealthier over the past 50 years, there's been no corresponding rise in happiness. Too often, we seek fulfillment in the next toy that comes out. I have an iPhone, an iPod, an iPad, a notebook. I'm not any smarter for owning any of these things. As a matter of fact, it's frustrating because I don't know how to use most of them. So, just having these things does not automatically guarantee you're going to be happy. If you're selfish, you miss out on the richness that comes from giving and sharing. A successful life is full of joy, significance, and contentment. A truly generous person gives deeply of his time, energy, and attention. We tend to blame top politicians for what's wrong with this country, and then they turn around and blame each other. So next time you go to vote, take a closer look at who you voted for. Is wanting to be happy selfish? Absolutely not. You're trying to promote your well-being, and you're making the most of your life, and everybody should pursue that. You must care for others to become become happy, because there's definitely a dual benefit there to you and to the people that you surround yourself with. So, how do we overcome our selfishness? The first step is to be honest about yourself and admit you might have a tendency towards that. And if you do, this thinking will free you up and let you begin to get a little more grounded opinion. Begin to give generously when you least want to. Make it a habit. After doing it a few times, it becomes easier. Be patient with those around you who have endured your selfishness. They might be a little wary of any changes you make, wondering if it's for real or not. You may have spent a good portion of your life cultivating a unique first personality. Keep a journal, overcome selfishness, and then write down your triumphs and your failures. Go back and review from time to time, and it will hold you accountable if you're not making significant changes. Take ownership for what you do. Refuse to give yourself an excuse for not improving. Now that brings us to accountability. Whoa. I'm going to bridge too far. The definition of accountability is taking or being assigned a responsibility for something you've done or something you're supposed to do. When we lack accountability, we blame others for things go wrong. She did. Not me. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. We like to make excuses. I didn't get the homework assignment. I didn't know we were having a test this week. I missed class. I was sick. I was at town. Maybe I was at the beach. I don't know. We refuse to take responsibility for our actions. Mary was supposed to tell me what the assignment was, and she didn't come to class. She has called me. Not my fault. I'm the victim here. So what you have to do is be honest. Every time you lie, your stress level increases and your self-esteem crumbles a little bit more. Avoid making excuses. Take ownership for your mistakes. Learn from them. No one is perfect or born knowing everything. We all have to learn. Take the initiative to take responsibility. If you didn't finish a project or assignment, step up, accept your failings, and offer to do better. If you're in a work environment, your boss would rather that you be honest and correct what you haven't done or failed to do or did incorrectly. If you're not, the next person in that position just might be able to do that for them. When someone screws up, we tend to blame their personal characteristics. She's just like that. But when we screw up, we tend to blame it on external circumstances. Oh, well, it wasn't my fault my car wouldn't start. So in conclusion, I'd like to tell you a story of 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was asked to do it. Well, everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. The author of that is unknown. But Albert Einstein said that it's an optical delusion when we view ourselves as separate from the rest of the world. Real happiness and meaning in life comes through relationships. People volunteer, support charities, help the less fortunate, not just because they're worth doing, but because it's part of a caring mentality that gives you self-respect. Choose to be happy rather than right. Now, Anthony will talk to you about self-esteem.
Okay. Be happy. Low self-esteem blocks happiness. Wanting to be someone else is a waste of the person that you are. Marilyn Monroe once said that. These opinions are at the heart of self-esteem. affect how you feel about values and value yourself. Low self-esteem can cause depression, unhappiness, and insecurity. Lots of things can get in the way, and it can be hard to express yourself when it comes to conflicts with family and society. It can lead to toxic relationships and extra stress. Facebook can contribute to these feelings that everyone is enjoying themselves more than you. You see all the photos with all the smiling faces, but they represent but a snapshot of time in someone's life and may or may not be true. Don't try to keep up with Jones. Run your own race. Low self-esteem is like driving through life with a handbrake on. It can cause you to fall short of your potential or tolerance, or tolerate some situations which are abusive or are not in your best interest. Increase your self-esteem and your chance to be happy. Building self-esteem is your first step towards happiness and a better life. Replace negative thoughts with good thoughts and images. Try to imagine yourself successfully completing what you are about to do before you even begin. Replace negative thoughts with good thoughts and images. Try to imagine yourself successful. List your positive assets. We are all good at something, but probably not everything. Reflect on your past successes. Try to remember how good it felt and think about how you were able to succeed. Maybe you studied harder to get a better grade, or maybe you practiced harder to learn something new. Become more assertive and confidence will follow. Face your fears, like I'm doing right now. Learn from your failures, but don't dwell on them. Conquer them. Use them as a learning opportunity. Move on. Everyone fails, so don't be defeated. It is what you take away that is important. Work hard to remove negative thoughts. Low self-esteem can be unlearned since we can control our own thoughts. Self-esteem is not selfish esteem. Everyone in the world has been granted life for a reason. Everyone deserves appreciation and recognition, including you. Focus on your needs and desires. Wanting a self-esteem is not selfish as long as you don't hurt anybody else. Give without expectation. Give your money to those who have greater need than you. Give your time to help others. There's a lot of satisfaction when you're able to extend yourself to those around you. In conclusion, fortunately, self-esteem is the conviction that one is as worthwhile as anyone else, but not more so. We have to realize that we are all in the same boat and have much to learn along the way. Self-esteem is not static and fixed. Your views of yourself are continually changing. You have the power to control what you think, correct the problems that bring you down. Don't try to be like somebody else. Be your own person. Recognize your positive qualities and accomplishments. Building self-esteem is the first step towards happiness and a better life. Emerson will talk about persecution. Alright, so a persecution delusion or a persecution disorder has a two-part definition. The first is that someone affected believes that something is going to harm them, or something is trying to harm them or is going to harm them in the future. The second part is that they believe the source of this harm has the intent to harm them. This can be seen in extreme religious and political groups and cults. But I think the most extreme example of this is my girlfriend Brittany. Does anybody have a dog that barks when you come home? Well, I have a schnauzer, and his bark could pierce steel. And every time you come home, or a squirrel 2 doors down touched an acorn, he has to let everybody know that he does not care that it's 3 in the morning. And my girlfriend, for some ungodly reason, thinks that he does this on
she leaves food out, he's gonna eat it, but she thinks he's looking for her food. Ways to avoid having a persecution conflict. Try to consider other people's perspective. Oftentimes, if you stand in their shoes and see it from their side, you'll find out that they didn't actually intend to harm you, and it could have been an accident. Sometimes an accident really is just an accident. Thinking about the problems objectively. If you go through the logical steps and what someone did, usually you'll see where the error was, and you'll find that it wasn't directed at you, and oftentimes had nothing to do with you. And lastly, you want to keep your emotions in check. A lot of times people, their first reaction, they get angry and they'll lash out at somebody. And if you acknowledge that, sometimes that can avoid the problem. The way psychologists approach this is with cognitive behavioral therapy. It's used to help fix maladaptive thinking, like persecution delusions or persecution disorder, and it helps them break down the problems. The first step is to assess the problem. Take all the parts and look at them objectively all at the same time. You want to conceptualize each step and try and see the motive behind what they did. And you want to build skills that help you deal with that in real time and not afterward when it's already happened. And you want to adapt that to everything in your life and get a general sense of what people are trying to do and why. If you follow these steps, it will lead you to have a happier life and hopefully stop pointing fingers at other people. Now, Mike's going to talk about assuming the worst enough.
The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. That was quoted by Marcus Aurelius. Now, assumptions doesn't just make you look bad, it also makes the other person look bad. You can hurt their feelings and cause actually more damage than you think. A lot of things have actually happened because of assumptions and assuming the worst of others. We have people automatically fall in love with people say. You fall in love with somebody, said about somebody, you automatically believe it, or just on looks. Like myself, I have tattoos, I ride a motorcycle. Some people just don't assume the best. Well, what exactly does it mean when you say assuming the worst of others? Well, let's say you see somebody who's like covered in tattoos and just, saggy pants on and stuff, you automatically assume the worst of that person. You already judged them before the judgment could have even started. So, technically you're hurting yourself. Because the number one thing you're doing is making yourself look bad and others. Assuming the worst does have its effects. For instance, if you saw this guy walking in the street, would you automatically go ask him for help anywhere? Would you even try to? Or you guys assume that he wouldn't give any help, you guys didn't know who he was. Now, people always ask, and I know some of you can do a little bit, and some of you don't. And right now you're wondering, well, how can we see the words actually make any damage? Well, I have my own life experience. In 2005, I started dating a girl from Marcy. She was going to same student here, and after 2 years of dating, I decided to go with her back overseas and travel the countries that she was going to for her college. Her parents were quite wealthy, and always assumed the worst because I was not. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't being treated right. I was just not a good person at all. I wasn't Islamic, so right then and there, I'm not even allowed to be good. Because the parents were arranged marriage, hers was supposed to be as well. Well, after 5 years of dating, traveling as many countries as we possibly could, I decided that I was going to ask her father for the first time if I could marry her. We fly to Morocco, everything is great. As soon as we get there, this guy walks up and tries to hug and kiss her. And knowing myself as a guy, I get aggressive, so of course I hit him. Well, come to find out, he's actually the son of the chief of police. So within an hour, I was back on a flight to New York. Got stuck in a part of the terminal in New York City that I didn't know existed for 12 hours. Couldn't leave the terminal, couldn't go nowhere. There was nothing open, nothing like that. So after the marriage of her and this guy, I received a box in the mail with a necklace that I'm wearing today and a couple of small items. Come to find out, because the parents judged the way I looked compared to how they assumed him, because his parents had money, his parents had what they had, and the way he looked. He ended up beating and raping her on their wedding. And 2 days after, she shortly committed suicide. And all of this because the parents assumed he was better because of what they could see. So, how to change this? There are a few different ways of changing your experiences on how you judge people. One, don't judge by appearance. Next one is think clearly of what you really see and what you notice about it. I'm not a bad person, and I know a lot of you are not. Definitely not bad. But does that mean somebody's not going to automatically assume? Of course not. And if somebody does assume it to you, don't assume back to them the same thing, because then you'll be in their shoes as well. Don't stereotype. And the number one thing, the whole gossip thing, that's definitely a disease in today's society. So with all these things, everyone will be happy. And as I said in the beginning, if a waiter comes up and fills your glass half full, that'll be life. Life is not always going to give you a full glass. It will not always be the way you want it to be. So it's up to you. So don't be an ass and fill your own glass.
I might wanna say